And now back to the legal case creating a perfect storm for Donald Trump. The Supreme Court will hear oral arguments tomorrow over whether the former president can be booted from Colorado's 2024 ballot for violating the 14th Amendment, barring officials from holding office if they have engaged in an insurrection. Two states have found Trump ineligible, Maine and Colorado. Justices are considering the Colorado case tomorrow. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has a preview.
Krista Kafer is a conservative columnist who voted for Donald Trump in 2020, but says she won't do it again.
Former President Trump tried to disenfranchise 80 million Americans. And how did he do that? He tried to overturn an election. He fomented violence to stop the peaceful transfer of power.
Kafer and 5 other voters in Colorado successfully managed to get the Republican frontrunner kicked off the state's primary ballot in 2024 for what happened on January 6, 2021.
Through his actions and his actions alone, Donald Trump has disqualified himself from ever holding office again.
Trump says he did nothing wrong, predicting chaos and bedlam if the U.S. Supreme Court doesn't rule in his favor, saying this about the justices he appointed to the bench.
I fought really hard to get 3 very, very good people, and they're great people, very smart people, and I just hope that they're going to be fair.
To understand how we got here, you have to start with the legal word salad that is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Quote, no person shall hold any office who, having previously taken an oath as an officer of the United States to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. English translation, if you took an oath and you break that oath by engaging in an insurrection, then you don't get to hold public office in the future, a view that's been embraced by some leading conservative legal voices.
It's not President Joe Biden. It's not the Democrats. It's not the anti-Trumpers. It's the Constitution of the United States.
The 14th Amendment's framers wanted to make sure that after the Civil War, ex-Confederate leaders wouldn't get voted back into office. But the text that went into effect in 1868 raises a bunch of tricky questions now at the heart of the legal fight in 2023. Like, is the president an officer of the United States? If so, why not say so? Did Trump engage in an insurrection or rebellion, even if he didn't break into the Capitol himself? And who exactly is supposed to enforce this part of the Constitution anyway? Congress or the courts? In the wave of lawsuits to ban Trump from the ballot, most courts have dodged these questions or ruled in his favor until Colorado, where the state's highest court found him ineligible for office. The case now on the U.S. Supreme Court's docket, where the ultimate result for Colorado and the rest of the country is far from clear-cut. Laura Jarrett, NBC News.
And now let's bring in legal counsel Mario Nicholas. He is one of the lawyers representing the petitioners in this Colorado ballot challenge. So, Mario, as you head into tomorrow, what is on the line? What's at stake?
I think our democracy is at stake. I think that our U.S. Constitution, which is our democracy, is at stake. We either abide by the terms of the Constitution or we do not. And I think that's what the justices will have to decide.
So what do you say to those who argue the voters should decide, not the courts?
Well, I think that you have to look at the Constitution itself. The Constitution doesn't allow us to vote for just anyone we want. You have to be at least 35 years old. So Taylor Swift is not eligible. You have to be a natural-born citizen. Elon Musk is not eligible. You can't have run twice before. Barack Obama and George W. Bush are not eligible. This is just one more qualification the Constitution puts in place.
The Washington Post profiled one of the Colorado voters you're representing, 91-year-old Norma Anderson. She was the state's first female majority leader, a Republican, by the way, and she told the Post, quote, the very first time I ever ran, I didn't win. I didn't go out and try to change the election. I said, whoops, work harder next time, lady. So, Mario, why was it so important to Norma and your other clients to bring this case forward?
Well, I can tell you from Norma's perspective, she actually has a constitution that she reads almost every day. She has one in her purse. She has one at the side of her bedside. She has one in by where she watches TV. And for her, it is the defining piece of our democracy. And so she said, look, Donald Trump is a threat to that democracy. He's a threat to the American way of life. And I'm going to do everything I can to stand up against that, including being a part of this lawsuit.
Trump appointed 3 of the 9 current Supreme Court justices. Let's remember some remarks he made in his now infamous January 6th speech at the Ellipse.
I'm not happy with the Supreme Court. They love to rule against me. I picked 3 people. I fought like hell for them. You know, I read a story in one of the newspapers recently, how I control the 3 Supreme Court justices. I control them. They're puppets. It really is genius, because what they do is that, and it makes it really impossible for them to ever give you a victory.
So, Mario, does the court love to rule against him? How much of an impact do you foresee Trump's mark on the court playing into their decision on this matter?
I think that these justices have dedicated themselves to the rule of law for their entire careers. I think they're all incredibly sharp and intelligent, the preeminent legal minds in America, and I think that they will apply the law. And if they do that, we will win.
I do want to take a closer look at Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Again, no person shall hold any office under the United States having previously taken an oath as an officer of the United States to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Now, other lawyers I have talked to say the Supreme Court could take a number of off-ramps here without actually deciding on the merits of the case. For example, they could simply find the petitioners don't have standing. They could determine a president is technically not an officer of the United States. They could say Trump's oath when he became president didn't actually include the words support the Constitution. So my question to you is, how crucial is it for the justices to address the merits of this case as it pertains to Trump's role on January 6th?
Well, I think that there are multiple amicus briefs that have talked about some of this and what happens if they do not address the merits or if they try to kick the can down the road, which will lead to greater chaos than President Trump actually threatened in his own brief. And it would lead to greater disenfranchisement. It would lead to people, tens of millions of people, potentially casting a vote for someone who's not eligible to be president. And that's the kind of thing we should avoid. Furthermore, there are other historians who talk about what autocracies could come through and what would happen, and this mirrors some of those, and we should avoid that.